All right, so what I'd like to do is essentially create some pickups so that when our player is running and dodging this food, if they get hurt, they have a way of increasing their health, things like that. If they get hit by this, burger or this donut or whatever. So let's go ahead and create a couple of those. So I'm going to create a empty game object here, and I'm going to call this health pickup, and I'm going to reset the position here. And I'm going to use tools, Pro Builder window, and I'm just going to make a new shape, which is a sphere, and hold Control. Let me hit it. Let me delete that. Let me try that one more time. New shape, sphere, hold Control and click. Oh no, Shift and click. And looks like it's still squashed. Interesting that it squashed it. Let's do something like that. And I'm going to select health pickup here. I'm going to reset my sphere. And let me go ahead and, let's see, because I want to zero out that Z there. Let me freeze transformations. And now that should zero all that out. And then that's a little bit better. I'm going to open vertex colors here, and I'm just going to apply a red because this is going to be like an apple. And this will be our health pickup. I guess we could have made it a cross, like a medical cross. I'm going to freeze transforms again, just because I edited that size. And then what I want to do is I'm going to select maybe this vertice at the bottom here, and I'm going to do set pivot. And then that way my pivot point is at the bottom. So if I go to pivot here, you can see now it's at the bottom. And it's a little off. It's not directly the most center pivot. But anyway, if I reset this, you can see it's now at his feet, which looks good. So here's our health pickup. I'll call this apple. And I think that's good. And then we could also do, I'm going to create another empty game object. I'm going to reset the position on this one. I'm going to call this coin. And this could be coins that we pick up in our game. And for this one, same situation, new shape. I'm going to select a cylinder, hold shift. And I don't know why these are all like kind of squished. I'm going to center pivot on this guy. Let's see, there we go. And reset it on the x-axis 90 degrees. Let's actually turn this off for a second. And then let's call this coin. We could actually call this coin pickup. And for a coin here, let's reset. Let's select this bottom face, set pivot. Now that pivot is on the bottom, let's go back here. Let's reset the position. And let's undo that. We have all this stuff going on. Let's freeze transformation. Select that bottom face, set pivot. There we go. Now, when we reset the position, it should snap down there. There we go. And let's make this gold. I'm going to hit F to focus. So now we have a coin and we have a apple that we created. Let's go ahead and uncheck these. And in our prefabs, let's grab our health pickup, drop that in there. Let's do the same for our coin. And we can delete these now from our scene. All right, let's write some code. I'm going to write this in my ground class, essentially. We're going to do this for our spawning the apple and the coin. So what I meant, not ground, I'm sorry, I meant hurdles class. Because in our hurdles class, we have this, and we could rename this by hitting Control RR and just call this like maybe spawned objects or something. But you know what, we'll edit that another time. I don't want to do that now, and then if you have an issue, then it kind of screws up all of your code. So in start, we have a spawn hurdle, and then I've got this print lanes thing I was using for a demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and just make two methods, spawn apples, or spawn apple. And then I'm going to hit Control D on that, and then just do spawn coin. And what I can do now is hit control and period. And I'm going to create the method spawn apple. And for some reason, if I have to kind of like click at the end between these and then hit control and period to get this to show up right where it does this and it doesn't give me some other like quick factoring thing. So now we have a spawn coin method and a spawn apple method. Now, because I'm only going to spawn one coin and I'm only going to spawn one apple, what I can do is we don't need this for loop. What I really need is all of this logic where we get a random lane index and let's see, and then the selected lane, and then where we're actually instantiating the apple. So I'm going to copy all of this. Before we do that, just copy this for a second and then just hang on to that for a moment. We are going to need a, let me see, we're going to need a serialized field, which is the actual Apple prefab. And then we're going to need one for coins. And so we could save that off. And now if we, let's see, for obstacle spawner here, ground parent, we have our level generator here. Looks good. And it has the ground in there. And if we look at our hurdle here, let's see. Sorry, our ground object here, which has our hurdle on there. We can go ahead and grab our coin pickup, drop that in there, and then our apple. Or health pickup is what we called it. Actually, we should name this health prefab actually. And then if we save that, a lot of times when you do that, it reloads and then it removes the object. It looks like it didn't, oh, it did do that. So yeah, make sure to pay attention to that. So let's grab our health pickup and drop that in there. Let's make sure we save that. All right, let me close these out. So actually what I'm thinking is, because if I'm just copying and pasting really this code here, which is like our available lanes, an index, and all of these, I can, if I'm copying and pasting this over and over again, we really could just take this and break it into its own method. Because remember what this is doing is this is really helping us to select the lane, right? So if I highlight all of these and I hit control and period, I can extract that into a method. And I'll just call this, that was really good of it, it selected lane. We'll name it select lane. And then let's hit next. And now we have that select lane method. And it looks like it's saving it inside of here. And it's passing in available lanes, let's see, which is from up here. Now we don't actually need this list available lanes. I wonder, because I think we have it all the way up here. Let's see, list available lanes. And we're passing that in here, and then we're using it all through there. I wonder if we could just extract that as well. Yeah, to clean this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to grab this here, this list of available lanes. I'm going to hit Control X on that line, and I'm just going to paste it up top so that it's able to be accessed everywhere. So now when I save this, and this will clean up our code a lot, we now have a variable that's storing, which is called selected lane, the outcome of whatever this is here, right? And it doesn't look like it likes that available lanes here. Let's see. I see the error I'm getting is actually because when it made it static. So let's get rid of that. We can also get rid of private to clear that up. There we go. Okay. So yeah, just so we moved this up here, we promoted this so that it's a global list and it can be used anywhere inside of our code. And then inside of here, we just have a variable, let's see, inside of our code here called select lane. And all it's doing is it's storing, and it just has the var keyword, which makes it like universal. It can really access any type. And it's storing whatever is produced from select lane. And if we look at select lane here, all we're returning is the value that this selected lane is. And what that is, that value is the, it's really just the available lane at some random index. So it's just storing this array value here, which remember, if you remember what available lane is, It's just these three numbers. And so it's just giving, all that thing is doing is returning 0, 1, or 2. That's all this method is doing. So I don't want you to get too confused. And that's all this variable is storing is 0, 1, or 2 because it's running this logic here. All right, so now what we can do is we can just repeat this code here, these 3 lines. Remember, all this is doing is giving us a lane. We're storing the X, Y, and Z position of whatever we're spawning, and then we're spawning it. Now you probably guessed that, okay, you're copying this line of code, but you have this hurdle prefab. Don't you want to make that your apple or your coin? And that's exactly correct. So inside of spawn apple here, I'm going to paste that in there. And then what I'm going to do is, we'll look at our coin next, but for the apple, I'm just going to go here and grab my health prefab here. And I really should call this spawn health prefab, but anyway, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit Control RR and do spawn health prefab, and that'll make better sense. And then I'm going to change hurdle prefab to health prefab. I'm going to save that. All right, so I also want to add that failsafe from before. Really, one other quick thing is in start, we have spawn health prefab, spawn coin. You really want to make sure that spawn hurdle is first. Let's add that failsafe in there where we have this break, but this time I don't want to break out of a for loop. I want to break out of a method. So you're going to use something that's a little different. And that's going to be, instead of break, see how we have an error there? We're going to use return, because return is used to exit a method where break is used to exit a loop. So now we have that safeguard in there. Let me save this and see if that works. You can see now we have our apples and our scene spawning. And again, we could do this a little bit more dynamically. Let's grab this same code here and just drop it in our coin. And what I'm going to do is just go and grab my coin prefab here and drop that into here. Save that and press play. And because it's running in this order, it is going to check if a lane is available, so they're not going to overwrite on top of each other. So now you can see that we have coins in their own lane, we have these guys, and it's also taking up to account these guys here, these fence posts. Now we have 2 fence posts here. So pretty cool. Like, we've got a whole thing going on here with our endless runner. Now I think something that would also be cool actually is if we made sure that we don't have a apple or a coin on every single one of these chunks that are spawning. It just looks cluttered. So let's do that now. All right, so we're going to do some basic math to essentially create the chance of our health prefab or coin prefab pickup being spawned. All right, so created a variable here. It's of type float. It's holding a value. Right now, it can change to anything. That's why we made it serialized field. It's pretty arbitrary. But the way we're treating this is as a percentage. So we're saying a 30% chance by putting 0.3 here instead of 1, which is a 100% chance that this object will be spawned. The reason for that is we're going to be using a random value. So inside of our, let's see, our spawn health pickup, which is here, we'll add another if statement. And we're going to do random. Instead of range, we're going to do dot value. And let's see. Let's see if I can get the explanation to pop up. You can see here it says returns a random float within 0, and see other float values, and 1. And this equal this, so this is what's going to help us create that percentage. So what I'm going to do is say if like this random dot value here, and I'll get rid of this for a second, is greater than our health spawn chance, and then I'll just copy this return here. Then we'll just exit. So if the random value is greater than this spawn chance, which is at 0.3% right now, then we'll just exit out and we won't spawn anything. It won't run any of this spawning code. So let's save that and let's press play. Now you can see we have a lot less frequent apples, and then you can see we have coins here. So if I just copy this line, you know, we'll just do this again. We'll just duplicate this, name this coin prefab chance, and then duplicate this. and then here. And then we want coin, prefab spawn chance, save that, press play. And then all you have to do is adjust these values. Like if you want a 50% chance, and now you can see we get them a lot less frequent. All right. And like I said, if you want to, for example, you're like, okay, I want this coin to show up more. You can make that 0.5. Let's press play here. And you'll see 50% more coins. Now let's do something else. If you look here, you'll see, say we want to have, like, say there's no coins there, but we want to have like 5 coins on one thing. Like a nice little, like how in Mario Brothers, they have like a super coin thing. What we can do is we can just go in and we can create, let's create another variable here, and we'll call this coin separation length. And this is how far apart we want those coins to be, you know. And I'm going to set this to 2. And the reason for that is because we know our the length of our units is 10. And so if we break them up by 2, we could probably fit 5 coins in a row. So let's save this. All right, and then let's go into our spawn coins here. And then after our if statements here, let's make a variable. And we'll make this coins to spawn. And we'll make that equal to a random dot range. And we'll make that between 1 to 6. And the reason for that is because we want 5 coins to anywhere between 0, like really we want up to 5 coins. Now, to really clarify the way this works is you'll never get to 6, right? This is just the ending number here. So what you're doing is you're doing between 1 to 6. So you're doing 2 to 5 is what it's going to spawn. So we can get up to 5 or less than 2 in these number of coins to spawn. Like the random dot range is the in-between value of 2 numbers. So just in case that was confusing you. Now what we can do is, in order to spawn these coins, where we have the instantiation here, you probably guessed that we can just create a for loop here, grab our coins to spawn here, and then we just say, hey, as long as I is less than these coins to spawn, what we can do is we can instantiate these coins. So I'm going to copy this and just paste it inside of here and save that. All right, I promise we're almost done, and this is just a little bit more math. So I'm going to create a new variable here, and it's just going to be it's a float value, and it's just called top of ground z, and then position. And we're going to make this equal to transform dot position dot z. So what this is going to return us is, if we look at our ground object, if we're doing transform dot position dot z, if we select our ground object here, it's going to give us the top position on z, right? So that's sort of the center point really on the z-axis of there. And then what we want to do is we want to separate the coin, because remember it's being spawned in, by a value. So what we can do is add to that position, we have that coin separation length, which is 2. And then we can multiply that by 2, and that'll space it out 2 pieces, 2 over at a time. So let's save that. All right, sorry, one more variable here. We'll do float spawn. Let's just copy this position, and then we're going to do z, and this equals this top of ground position that we have here minus, and then the value of I, and I'll explain this in a second, times our coin separation length. So what's happening here is this spawn position here is equal to the top of our ground z position, which is, remember, based on that separation length times 2, which is just kind of shifting it over. And then as we keep calling this, it's going to keep subtracting the I, which is 0, 0 minus coin separation length, which is 2. And then we just keep going down. So this 0 times 2 is 0 minus this position starts us off at the top of the ground position. Then 1 times this 1 times 2 minus the ground position here. So this is what's going to separate it out. And then we just need to use this instead of this transform.position.z. And this will actually separate or space out those coins. So let's go ahead and press play here. And you can see here, we've got 2 coins there in a row. We've got 3 coins there in a row. 2 coins, 2 more coins. We've got our health pickup. So I know that was a ton. I hope you understood it. Like I said, always go back in, comment your code, take notes, things like that. That's what's going to make you become a better programmer. Figure out how to add more coins. Like say, oh, you know what? I'm going to change my coin separation length to 1. Let's see what that does. So now let's press play. And you can see it should pack in more coins on one piece. So we'll probably find some of those in there. Here's a great example right here. Notice all those coins that are in a row. And if that's confusing to you, be like, well, go back in and look at the code and look at the basic math and be like, why did that work? Why did that not work? Or ask me and then we'll meet up. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that.